Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the This Week in Fantasy podcast. I'm joined by Aaron, and he is going to walk us through the Week 5 matchups after we talk about the previous week's matchups. So, Aaron, you of course are doing very well. Let's start with your matchup
Hey
going into
man,
last
it's,
week.
it's it's always nice to be here again.
You put up 135 and just crushed Spencer.
Well, Spencer is well, like people like to call him easy, but I like to just say that Spencer had a bad week.
Are you worried about Melvin Gordon coming back?
A little bit, but in the past, if you look at Austin Eckler's output from past seasons, even with Melvin Gordon going off or not going off, regardless, he still catches quite a few passes and is a big asset in the passing game, and especially with the Chargers, having a couple receivers down right now, Austin Eckler's still going to be getting some good targets because they can't all go to is it Kenny Stills or whatever his name is.
Mm.
Um, I can't remember what the Chargers name is. Chargers receiver is, but
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen. Yeah, you're right. And he's got like the third most wide receiver fantasy points this year, so they can't all go to him. Like, he's got to get covered at some point. So I think Austin Eckler's still a good player to have. I think he works really well as a flex back. It's not something I'm like the most confident on in the world, but it's something I feel pretty strongly about.
Well, as long as Cook and Gurley remain healthy, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I got a real good hand dealt to me this year. So I mean, if
Let's.
you just look at this game, I mean, he started Kyle Allen,
Yeah, he had a
which
great
like
week
I
last
get
week.
it. I get it. Like last week, yeah, he did well, but that's because nobody had he was playing the Arizona defense. Like, come on, he had to go against Houston, who those front four on Houston are just monsters.
All right, let's move
He
on.
fumbled the ball 3 times. It's bad.
Let's move on to Clap 4 versus Ben, where Ben got his points doubled and no one put up double digits except for his precious second round pick, Aaron Rodgers.
Ben seems a joke.
Cla-
Clap four is scary.
Nick Chubb had a great week. He finally lived up to his potential. Derrick Henry continues to do well.
I would say that Nick Chubb overperformed. Um, I don't think he's gonna get 36 points again this year. I think he'll probably stay around that 15 mark. It would be. I don't know what Baltimore was doing in that game. Honestly,
They look terrible.
they looked terrible, and they've looked good all year. Or at least a above average team all year. We'll see this weekend if they can beat the Steelers. If they lose to the Steelers, their season's over. So that's
Well,
kind of how
let's
it
wait.
goes.
Let's wait until we preview the matchups to talk about what's coming up.
Okay.
Zeke of Nature versus No Fried. Seagouch put up a modest 88. No Fried choked it away. Pretty much nothing to say here.
I mean, I would say that No Fried's team, if you look at it, should be putting up way more points than it is. Um, I mean, he has DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitz, who just aren't catching much right now. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is ranked 23rd. He's a top 5 receiver in the league. That's something you gotta get better production out of. So it's unfortunate for No Fried, but nice for me because he's in my division. So
Interesting to see that Seagouch picked up Galliman, who did well, but guess what? He's not going to be playing
yeah, he
because,
already dropped him again.
yeah, well, Zeke is going to be back.
Hey, but I mean, it was a good pickup. Got him a win. So that's how you got to play the waiver wire. Some people in our league could definitely learn a few things from that.
It's just unfortunate that Seagouch isn't going to be able to milk that guy continuously.
See, Gouch.
All
He'll find
right,
something.
here we have a game where Cameron could have easily won. Rex Burkhead got hurt. The receivers he started were simply put trash tier. I'm sorry, there's absolutely no reason why anyone should be starting Humphreys and a guy in Miami named Williams.
Well,
I mean, there is no excuse for this in a non-PPR league. There is depth out there better than these guys. These guys are awful. horrible players.
I would unfortunately disagree. This year has been a very weird year for wide receivers. If you look at the top points scored by wide receivers this year, the top one is like 65 points or maybe it's 70 points, and that's Cooper Kupp. Everybody else is below the like 60 mark. It's very very shallow in the wide receiver core this year. But if you look at Cameron's bench, he's got guys that are going to go in. I mean, he has T.Y. Hilton, who was hurt. He has Antonio Brown, which just sucks for him. Golden Tate suspended. Deshaun Jackson is hurt. All four of those guys are decent to above average, receivers that are going to get points when they get to play. Cameron just kind of got shitholed here, honestly.
What do you think the over/under is on how many weeks Cameron keeps AB? I think it's 4.
Cameron doesn't even play the waiver wire enough for it to matter. He
Well, the
might
guy's
as well
not
just
gonna.
roster him
He's
all
not gonna
season.
play. The guy retired. What do you mean you should roster him all season? You should pick up
I'm not
David
saying he
Akers
should.
too
I'm
in that
saying
case.
he probably will.
Oh, he will.
I mean, it's one of those things where like you got to just stand by your pick at this point. Like,
Oh, give me a break. He retired. Stand by what? It's not AJ
dude,
Green.
I'm pretty sure that was his first pick overall, wasn't it? No, he had McCaffrey overall. Second pick was
Second
was
round.
Antonio Brown.
Second round pick. Yeah. All right.
It was his second pick. I mean,
Let's move on.
It's just
Overall, second overall means like the second pick in the draft, which I think actually was McCaffrey.
yeah.
All right, Matt Stafford and friends chokes away an easy win versus Jackson.
Dude, this is one of those weeks where like Lily got to win.
OBJ had.
She's got to win.
This
dude.
is remember when I was talking about OBJ will have a great week and choke the next week. Since his 22-point performance, he hasn't broken 6. They scored 40 fucking points. 40.
They did, but Nick Chubb scored it all.
Who
I mean,
cares?
Nick
How do
Chubb
you not
ran
have
for
like
165
if your
yards.
offense has 40 points, then even if you don't get one of the touchdowns as the top tier receiver, you should have like at least 80 yards.
I don't disagree with you, but Odell Beckham Jr. is not like he's a good player, but they're on the Browns and Baker Mayfield is just not what he should be.
People were
or
taking
what he
him.
can be.
People were taking him in the early second round. People
people
treat
are
Odell
retarded.
Beckham like he's top tier. Well, it's like everyone. So do you think he's overrated?
Yes, absolutely. Like Odell Beckham is a top tier player, but he's not a top tier fantasy guy. I really don't think he ever has been. Like maybe the first year, like the year that he caught that one-handed catch that they show 100 million times against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that was the only year that he was like a top tier fantasy guy. Other than that, he's been like under 10. I'm pretty sure every year. I might have to go double check that, but like I mean, 10 in the rankings. It's like somewhere 11 to 30 or something like that. I mean, he's just not like the most productive receiver.
Jackson benched Chris Godwin, and when they had a shootout with LA, he played Adam Thielen, who put up 6.6 points. He got 6 yards versus Chirac.
Yeah, that was one that I could see why he was like having, some questions with that one, considering it's like Minnesota versus Chicago, and then you have Tampa Bay versus LA, which like the Rams are supposed to be a good defense, but apparently not. When good old Jared Goff throws 3 interceptions, like I mean, how do you even play like that? So
Jared Goff
I don't blame him
overrated.
for putting Adam Thielen in. Like it's one of those things where hindsight's 20/20. Like, yeah, the
Well, I
Rams
would have started
are
over
much
Watkins.
worse.
I woun't have started Watkins over.
Yeah, you know how I feel about good old Sammy Watkins. He's
How
terrible.
do you feel? You don't like him?
He's terrible. He's just the most boomer bust player I've ever seen.
37.8.
37 to under 5. Like it's just terrible.
All right,
I'm sorry,
and then
under 7.
and then to cap things off for boring last week, we had me just get absolutely rocked. Birdie had a horrific game. I knew I had lost one in the Thursday night game in the first quarter. Jamal Williams is contained and being pushed back by defenders, and he gets absolutely popped from the front as he's being pushed back. Out for the game. Fucked up
Yeah.
badly, 0 points.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and then Julio Jones and Michael Thomas failed to break 10. I had a chop between Vernon Davis and Jason Witten because Kittle was on bye. It was a rough week. Randall Cobb choked with the Cowboys. Absolutely brutal. The Jags didn't do much even though they played fucking Denver. And I had some injury problems running back wise, so Sam won this
Yeah,
game pretty easily and it was pretty uneventful.
it was pretty uneventful. I do want to draw attention to one thing though. On Sam's bench, he has a guy named Jarvis Landry,
Mm-hmm.
and if you recall, Jarvis Landry actually plays for the Cleveland Browns as well,
Mm.
and is a superior pick to Odell Beckham Jr. 167 yards receiving.
I guess that's where all those yards came from.
Yep.
Keepo.
I mean, like, it's crazy, dude. I mean, you just have to look at it. It's just like he literally had 167 yards and got a concussion in that game, and like that's how much better he is than Odell Beckham,
Very
or at least
interesting
more consistent.
perspective. Let's move on to this week's games where we can really sink our teeth and have some in-depth discussion. I don't like to get too bogged down in the
That's fair.
pregame.
But before we do that, I want to just talk briefly about the league real quick.
Okay, go for
I
it.
do want to draw attention to Weston's power rankings. Always great to see. You notice there is a strong lack of, Spencer's power rankings and his his formulas and tell us who's gonna win each week. Wonder what happened with that. Can see some notable pickups and drops. Like we mentioned earlier, Seagouts went ahead and dropped the running back for the backup running back for the Giants, with Saquon Barkley projected to be back. The biggest one though is I picked up a guy, a kicker. You might know him. His name is Matt Gay,
Mad Gay,
and he's on the Men in Love. So
the men in love. Now, where does that come from, Aaron? Why don't you tell our audience?
I'll let Spencer do it when he's on Twiff next.
Well, I mean, it's your team name. Why would you let Spencer tell it?
Well, it's Spencer's joke. I mean, but
Well, if it's your
you've really
joke, why?
coined it though.
Okay, well, why is it your team name? It's like saying he's got AIDS and he's got AIDS,
Well,
but I don't. But I do. Like, you
the
have the
reason I
AIDS
named
on
my
you.
team the Men in Love is because I saw this picture of Jim Schwartz, and I just had to use it, and I couldn't think of a good name that went with Jim Schwartz, and I was like, you know what I love about this is I can just call it the Men in Love.
You should have just named it Worthless.
Well, it's not a worthless team though. I got a 4-0 start this year, so
It's a worthless picture.
hoping to bring it to 5-0. So yeah, let's talk about this week's games.
Well, Aaron, I don't think there's a better place to start than an absolute must-win game for two of the teams. One historically competitive, one has the numbers to back it up with a lot of regular season success. And
Okay.
that's Spencer versus Ben. This is an absolute must-win matchup where both of the teams, no punches pulled, have to win. I don't really think Spencer has a chance to do anything but hope for a wild card if he starts off 1-4, and 0-5, of course, is the kiss of death. So I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one, Aaron. You really tell me what you think about this, and I'll
Alright,
jump
well,
in.
let me just go ahead and start off by saying that Aaron Rodgers, although he is the Cowboy killer, won't put up enough points to beat Jameis Winston in this insane high-powered offense over there in Tampa Bay. Apparently, even though the Saints defense is good, they're just gonna have a little shootout, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game to watch, I think. And I think Jameis Winston will probably put up like 22. Aaron Rodgers put up about 18. Advantage Spencer on that. Le'Veon Bell at Philly. The Jets suck, and I mean Spencer's got Shady, who should put up more than 10 this week. He's playing Indianapolis, who's like a good team, but I don't know. I'm not sure about Indianapolis yet. They're like 2 more games away, 2 more wins away from like proving themselves this year. But I still think the Chiefs will pretty much roll them. So I'm gonna give another advantage to Spencer here. Philip Lindsay at the Chargers versus who's this guy playing for? Tampa Bay?
Yes.
Spencer's putting a lot of eggs in this Tampa Bay basket, but you know what? I'm going to go with him too on this one because Denver sucks. They're terrible.
Denver is really bad.
They are like I don't know. I've been watching this guy who reviews the Denver games, and he he's aptly put out that Denver's a terrible team who's gotten terrible calls all season. They have lost 2 games now from just like terrible luck, honestly. Just like the ball falling in weird places,
And they
bad
lose. They lose
officiating.
because their offense is bad, not because of anything gimmicky. Like they're a shit team that got worse. They have a front office that doesn't know what they're doing. Going out and getting Joe Flacco is a total fraud move.
Oh, I agree with that, but I mean they lost to the Bears by 2 points, and they lost last week to Jacksonville by 2 points. Like I mean they're
The
just
Bears
like
play everyone
they're a
close
field
because
goal
they
win.
can't score. The Bears
Oh, well,
never
yeah,
beat the
you're
shit
not
out of
wrong.
anyone. They scored 2 touchdowns. Oh, we got a phone. Phone on the
Don't
set.
worry, I muted, buddy. My
But the
bad.
Bears play everyone close because Big Dick Mitch Trubisky can't score. So they put up 14 points and then hold the other team to 7. And it's like, oh, we were close against the Bears. Not really.
Tyler Boyd is now the number 1 option in Cincinnati, so he will get quite a few points this week. Julian Edelman, questionable. I'm just gonna go ahead and give this to Tyler Boyd because Julian Edelman probably won't even play. They're playing Washington. Like, what's the point of him playing? Juju Smith-Schuster in a must-win game against Baltimore. I'm gonna give him the advantage over Allen Robinson at Oakland because Mitch Trubisky is terrible. Zach Ertz versus Greg Olsen. Ertz has the advantage, but Greg Olsen is also very good. Unfortunately, he has Kyle Allen thrown to him right now.
How is that unfortunate?
I mean, the guy fumbled the ball 3 times last week.
And he had a bad game after a great game. You already think he's bad?
Well, I mean, look how they're playing. They're playing the Jacksonville defense.
Not that
And
good. Like overrated. Jalen Ramsey's injured.
I would say it's about the same as Houston's defense. I mean, they're definitely not playing against Arizona's defense, which is the game that Kyle Allen did really well. That's all I'm saying. I think Zach Ertz has the advantage because he's playing the Jets, and Zach Ertz scores a little bit of points. I mean, they're probably both going to score like 6 or 7.
Yeah, Zach Ertz has been really disappointing. If you're a Zach Ertz owner, you really expect him to get over 10 at least once. He's been frauding it up.
Yep, I agree. Cooper Kupp, best, highest scoring wide receiver in the league right now. Against Marlon Mack, who's questionable. I don't think Mack's going to score more than 17 points, so going to go with that. Jay Sly is the number 2 kicker, I believe, now. Yeah, he's going to score. Oh, they're in a matchup against each other. That's cool.
Who's
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
get
just going
more?
to, like, Ben is just going to score like 80, like maybe 70 points this week, and Jameis Crab and Gill going to score 98 or so.
Okay.
It's not going to be close.
So I'm gonna also.
Sorry, Ben, your season's over.
I'm also gonna favor Spencer here. Ben has too many guys where he's waiting long term. Kareem Hunt, AJ Green. It's hard to really play effectively when you have 2 dead spots on your bench like that. And
Yeah.
Ben, I mean, like if you look at Aaron Rodgers, he's only had top tier numbers 1 week. You took him in the fucking 2nd round. Like that's just
He's
awful.
the 17th ranked quarterback. That's terrible, dude.
Alright, now we have you versus Kevin. And you already have 3 guys that played. And this is really the game of the week when you look at it. Both you guys are 4-4, division
Oh, yeah.
leaders. So just go ahead, since it's your matchup, I want you to take the lead on this one as well, and I'll take the lead on the next one.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I feel like this is a must-win game for Baltimore at Pittsburgh this week.
They looked
Um,
awful last week. They do need to recover.
They did. They look so bad. I mean, but Lamar Jackson is still putting up great numbers. He's number 2 ranked quarterback. Unfortunately, he's playing against Patty Mahomes, who's the number 3 ranked quarterback this year. And Indianapolis, like I said, they're looking to be proving, and I mean they could prove themselves this week, but I still think Patty will put up a little bit more points than Lamar Jackson will. I can't. So Todd Gurley is getting like 6 touches a game. It's crazy. I mean, he got 15 this last time, but he really didn't even run very well. He got 15 points though, so I'll take it. Derrick Henry is going against the Buffalo Bills, who are looking pretty good, honestly. They got a pretty decent defense. I don't think I could say that Derrick Henry will score more than 15. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd give Gurley the advantage there. I think Henry will probably get 9.
Yeah, he seems like a 10-point kind of week for him. It looks like his numbers are going to average around 10 points every week.
Well, and
I don't think he's going to do what he did every week.
Dalvin Cook should pop off for 20 against an awful Giants defense. Nick Chubb is playing a strong, sharp Niners team. I don't expect Chubb to be
who
really
just came
great
off a
again.
bye.
Yeah, I don't expect Chubb to do phenomenal, and I do expect Cook to do very well, so you got to edge Cook there.
Yep, I think so too.
Tyler
Lockett
Lockett
he got one touchdown. It was a great catch. I don't know if you watched it. It was a great game.
It was a good catch, and I think if you have Tyler Lockett, you're hoping for 10 to 15 every week. So I think if he gets you double digits, you're happy, frankly.
I agree. I think this year, like certainly this year, it hasn't been like this in the past. But if you can get 10 points out of your two receivers each, then you're going to be off to a pretty dang good start for your games. I don't buy into Philly's receivers. I mean, just look at Alshon Jeffrey. Like I know he wasn't even playing for 2 weeks, but 9 points against Green Bay's defense, that's pretty good. But I mean, he only got 38 yards.
I think his numbers are fine, but Philly receivers are very inconsistent, to your point. But I want to talk a bit about the Cowboys game this week. I think it is absolutely a must-win game for the Cowboys. It is so incredibly important after they went down against New Orleans with Teddy freaking Bridgewater, and they had a test game after 3 easy wins, and they completely choked in a game that should have been laughably easy, in a game that should have been a give-me game. They basically fought a hamstrung opponent that was going to be a big impactful game, and they get to do that again this week with no Devontae Adams. And if they lose both of those games, the Cowboys might go 9-7 and miss the playoffs.
I don't agree that it's necessarily a must-win game, but and actually, I really don't agree with that your take on the New Orleans game. Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, man. Like he's many of these places that have these rookie quarterbacks starting. Hell, he would definitely be starting in Washington right now.
He just played extremely conservative and didn't make mistakes and threw all passes under 10 yards. If he played in Washington, his numbers would be like Case Keenum's. The reason he's reasonably effective is because he has the best offensive-minded coach in the league and some of the best weapons. Alvin Kamara's top tier. Michael Thomas is top tier. Some of these other receivers they have are explosive. He has a lot of options. If you put him in the Redskins offense, he has Scary Terry and ancient Adrian Peterson. That's nothing. And a terrible line. So no, yeah, Washington would start him. They're starting Colt fucking McCoy this week. But guess what? Teddy Bridgewater looks decent and a great offense. But the Cowboys, it's not like they lost to someone completely awful, like Blaine Gabbert or someone, but you have to consider the fact that the Cowboys, this is a big test game for them. They had beaten 3 awful teams. Yeah. Everyone was saying that they didn't deserve it, and guess what happened?
They fucking proved them right.
They fucked it up. It was horrible. It was unwatchably bad. So the Cowboys have to win this week, and Amari Cooper's probably going to have to reel in a touchdown for you to have the advantage because Keenan Allen's set to have a good week.
Yeah, Amari Cooper was looking kind of like a little shaky with his ankle last week, so hopefully he's feeling better this week. We'll see about that. Keenan Allen is the second best wide receiver in the league right now, so it's going to be hard for Amari Cooper to beat him, honestly. And he's playing against that terrible Denver secondary.
I like your Disley pick, but Evan Ingram is one of the only guys that can beat him.
Yeah. I mean, Disley has just been insanely conservative and very much consistent this week or this year. I mean, he's ranked number 1, but that's because he played a week early or whatever, a few days early. Thursday night games are a joke, by the way. Evan Ingram, probably not going to score that much though this week against Minnesota. Their defense is really good.
It ain't that good.
I mean, it's good enough. He's on the Giants, man. Like, who knows? Evan Ingram could score 30 points. We'll see. I think that Will Dissly, in my opinion, has the advantage though.
Well, he maybe got one more good week of Eckler against Carlos Hyde, and then
Carlos Hyde has been like a 2-point better Duke Johnson that I've been holding. Like, he hasn't scored above 10 points yet. So it's one of those things, like, I'm kind of wondering why Clap Forest still starts him. I guess it's up against... Why doesn't he start, like, Ted Ginn or something like that? Oh, Ted Ginn's terrible.
Adrian Peterson, ancient.
I guess he really didn't have a better option. That's one thing that Clap Forest could definitely address, is that flex position. That one's going to be... I think Eckler's going to score 20 points this week, honestly, against that Denver secondary. Like, Denver's front four are pretty good, but their secondary is terrible. So they're gonna get Eckler out in like the flats or something. He's gonna run for quite a bit after the catch. Brett Maher and the Cowboys defense are gonna get beat by the Patriots defense and Harrison Butker.
The Cowboys are at a big
advantage.
disadvantage there.
Yeah, I mean they're playing Green Bay. Like, Green Bay's defense is pretty freaking stout this year.
I would give you the advantage here, though.
I think so too. I think it's gonna be like, I don't think I'm gonna score 150 this week.
Well, it's hard. It's going to be hard for you to bust. You already have consistent points put up, and you still have a lot of really talented guys yet to go. And when I look at Kevin this week, I think he's going to do well, but I give you the slight edge.
Yeah, Kevin's got a few bad matchups this week. Derrick Henry going against Buffalo and Nick Chubb going against San Francisco are two big hurdles that he's going to have to get over in order to win this game. And like with Todd Gurley already putting up 15, that slot is almost... I don't want to say it's a shoe-in, because as soon as I say that, he's going to score 30 points somehow. But it feels like... I feel like I'm safe on the running back side. Alshon Jeffrey and Keenan Allen are the two that could definitely kill me. And Patty Mahomes, he's a firecracker, so he could possibly go off for 40 points or something, 5 touchdowns.
Alrighty, let's move
Something
on
ridiculous.
to me versus Jackson.
All right, well, you got 18 points already by Chris Carson, who's been a good solid running back for you this year so far.
I'm so glad he broke his fumbleitis streak. That was huge.
Fumble, dang.
That was just really scary.
I know we were talking about the game earlier, and living up here, it's a big deal. You have to watch freaking Seahawks games, or else get shunned and stuff.
Seahawks.
Chris Carson, he went up there and ran for 118 yards this week, and he did it against LA, further proving my point that LA is overrated.
LA.
The Rams.
That Rams Cowboys game that happens at the end of the Cowboys schedule is going to be a very, very important game. It might be determining who makes the NFC wild card.
I hope not. I hope it just is a,
It'll be really important for one of the
Cowboys.
teams. It'll be really important for one of the teams, but I'm thinking both. If the Cowboys lose this week versus Green Bay, it's definitely both.
I mean, how do you feel about the NFC West? I mean,
I feel like the
Seahawks are now. I feel like the Seahawks are the shoe-in to win it right now, but what do you feel about the 49ers?
Well, both the Niners and the Hawks are way better than the team we were talking about before. The Rams just don't really have it. I think the Rams are sort of a flash in the pan. Sean McVay's the ultimate dick ride around Sean McVay was unwarranted. He's been figured out. NFL is a copycat league, so.
Yeah. Who's the fourth team in that division?
Oakland? Jokeland? No.
Oakland's an AFC team.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Who's Arizona?
Yeah. Oh, no defense.
Yeah, okay. typical Texas Tech Cliff Kingsbury, no defense. But they also have no offense. So
Well, what do you think about this quarterback
that'll
matchup? Because Breeze is set to do really well against terrible Washington.
um, it's Brady, who's like probably not. Honestly don't know if Brady will play all game.
He will. Everyone always says that, but he always plays.
I mean, there was some like talk of him might being injured this week,
No, it doesn't
like
have an
having a
injury
calf injury. I
designation.
know it doesn't say anything on here, but like I was watching some of the ESPN stuff,
Okay,
and they were
assume
talking
he's gonna
about
play.
calf injury. I think Jacoby Brissett still does more because what does Tom Brady need to do against Washington? They're just gonna like run the ball all over him.
So how many points is Brady gonna get?
10 maybe.
10.
Yeah, dude. I honestly don't think he's gonna break 15.
Okay.
I think Jacoby Brissett will do his best. I mean, he's pretty consistent this year so far, and I think he'll hit about 22 this week and do pretty well.
Well, with Leonard Fournette coming off of his best week all season, and Damon Williams going to play, who do you favor in this matchup?
That Carolina defense is no joke. I do think Leonard Fournette's pretty good, but I'm gonna have to give it to Damian Williams here.
Really?
I don't know how good he is though. I just feel like that Carolina defense is so strong, and Jacksonville is they're gonna have to air it out probably.
I would actually edge
They're gonna put
Fournette
the
here.
mustache in there.
I think Fournette will have another. I think he'll have like a 15-point game, but I don't think Alvin Kamara will be able to break 18.
I mean, against Tampa Bay, I don't know, man. That Tampa Bay team gave up what, 40 something points to the
Teddy
Rams.
Bridgewater.
They might, like I said, I think it's gonna be a shootout. I think Kamara might be right there with like 18.
Okay. Well, that
I'm
would
I'm,
really
I'm gonna
suck.
give it to Chris Carson here, but I think Kamara has a good chance of beating him.
Well, Adam Thielen gets to play the Giants' joke defense, so he's going to get at least 12. Julio Jones playing Houston. Atlanta's look pretty shitty. I imagine
Yep.
Thielen.
Yep. These
Mike,
top tier receivers are doing terrible this year.
Michael Thomas, I think, will be able to break double digits. Chris Godwin, I fear, will do the same with way higher upside. I would edge Thomas, but barely.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's right.
George Kittle has been somewhat disappointing this year, coming off of a bye against Waller. Waller's playing Chicago, even though Waller's been better this year. Edge Kittle.
You know, you're saying that George Kittle's been a little disappointing, but honestly, he just hasn't got the touchdown. I mean, he's got 50 plus yards every week that he's played.
He hasn't broken 6. He's been disappointing.
I mean, I understand the point, but all he's missing is a touchdown to get 11, 12 points right there. Like, if they can just get him in the red zone and get a touchdown for him, like, he's gonna start scoring a ton of points.
Well, hopefully that happens this week.
You can't ask for too much more than like right around 50 yards from the tight end.
You can if you draft him that high.
Well,
If
May-
it's
maybe
Kittle
for
or
you.
Kelsey or Zach Ertz, like, yeah, you do expect more than 5 fucking points. Are you kidding?
I mean, I'm not saying that you don't expect more than 5 points. I'm saying more than 50 yards of receiving.
Well, 50 yards is 5 points.
I'm aware of. What I'm trying to say is that they should be catching a touchdown.
Well, I agree with that. Shit. Good tight ends get like 100-yard games sometimes.
Sometimes. I don't disagree. I'm just like trying to make a reasonable statement about tight ends, man. Like,
Well, Kittle can have
50 yards
success
pretty
without fucking catching a touchdown. He can have like a 90-yard week without a touchdown catch. Hopefully that's what he does this week. I think with Waller playing
I think he will.
Chicago, Kittle has the advantage though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Chicago's defense is just stout. It's so stout.
I think Randall Cobb will reel in a touchdown this week versus his old team. And I think Sammy Watkins is good for 4 points, so I'll edge Cobb.
I'm gonna edge Cobb as well. Randall Cobb is like the new Terrence Williams, though. I just want to put it out there.
That is a curse. That is something
Yep.
really mean to say about someone.
Yep. Putting it out there.
Well, he's the third guy. Williams was always supposed to be the number 2 guy. Like Michael Gallup is the number 2 guy.
I know.
Okay.
But Randall Cobb is still the new Terrence Williams. Can't catch any ball that hits him in the hands.
I think
Any
that's
ball that
pretty
any ball that he
harsh.
deflects just goes right into the freaking opposing team's hands.
That is harsh and borderline mean-spirited, frankly.
I can't believe you would tell me that, of all people.
It's just true. It's ridiculous.
I think Will Lutz is going to score more than Justin Tucker this week.
I mean, at least you didn't call him Roy Williams.
Why would I call him Roy Williams?
That's like the real, like, mean thing to say, the real evil thing. Like Roy E. Williams, the receiver.
Oh, okay. I was very confused.
Yeah, from UT. Not the fucking
Why
black
don't I
Jeff
just
Heath.
call him, like, 2017 Des Bryant? How about that? How's that?
No, it's just ridiculous because it's like you're referencing
Hands.
You're referencing someone who was just like a total failure as a Cowboy his whole career is basically like someone's low point in their career. It like doesn't really make sense because Dez had a lot of good years. Like Roy Williams had like one good game his whole fucking Cowboys career, one game, and the Cowboys traded a first-round pick for his ass. It's ridiculous. It's one of the worst trades in Cowboys history.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, both kicker and special teams I'm giving to you. Justin Tucker not going to score that much, and Saints defense. If Tampa Bay keeps on their roll, they ain't not going to score anything. So.
Well, I think I'm going to break 100 and win. What do you think?
Let me do a little math here.
Focus.
Yeah, I think you got about 100. I'm going to say you're going to break 110 this week.
Okay.
I think Jackson will hit about 94.
Interesting. Love the number picks.
That's my hot take.
Alright, so now that we've talked about my game, who is 3-1, we can talk about the people in my division who are 2-2. So that's Gouch and Weston. Unfortunately, they're not playing each other. That happens at the end of the year. It already happened once. We have Cam Joke here, whose kicker has already netted him 11, versus Goucher. Now, this is actually an interesting matchup, Aaron, because both teams are 2-2. So this is a very important game for both of them.
This is an important game, and it's got a lot of players on it, like inside their teams, that have very important games as well.
Well, I look at it from this perspective. If Cameron starts to shit the bed before the bye weeks really start to hit, he's really not going to make it. Because Cameron is the sort of guy who will go into the heavy bye weeks at 4-2 and then manage to fuck it up and have the second worst record. But I'm looking at a guy like Gouch. He really needs this win. He's trying to stay competitive in his division. He's trying not to be the third wheel in Weston, I, and Lily's division behind Weston and I. And C. Gouch is sort of known as a dangerous player. And he likes these very flashy feast or famine guys. And when I look at Kyler Murray, that fits his style perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. But honestly, Kyler Murray has been putting up some decent. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say it. He's been putting up better numbers than Aaron Rodgers. There you go. He's a higher ranked quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. Ben, drop Aaron Rodgers.
Just drop him.
Don't do that.
Just cut him.
Kyler Murray, that's just crazy. Deshaun Watson's gonna score more than Kyler Murray this week.
Deshaun Watson is just a better version of Kyler Murray. Edge Watson.
That is exactly the perfect argument right there.
Melvin Gordon versus Zeke Elliott. I think Melvin Gordon coming back, it's exciting, but Zeke, he has to get 100 yards and a touchdown this week to prove himself. He's been solid, but not God tier Zeke Elliott like you would expect.
He only ran for 35 yards last week.
Terrible.
He literally, like, you're right. He has to run for. I would say he has to run for 150 this week. It is unbelievable that Cowboys line can't power through and get him at least 50 yards. How can you not?
It's
It's just
pathetic.
unbelievable. It's
When
unbelievable.
you play a team's backup quarterback and you say, I'm going to put up 10. We're a playoff caliber team. We're going to put up 10. You look like a
Yep.
fraud.
It's
And with the
terrible.
best line in the league, it shouldn't be hard. Like your ceiling should be fucking 7, or your floor, excuse me, should be 17 points. Like that's how many points you should be able to get every game. I don't care if you're playing the Bears in a blizzard. Like that team can fucking pound it out on the ground. That's how it's built. But what actually happens? Zeke Elliott, when he doesn't find success early, it looks like he quits. Zeke Elliott, even though he got a bunch of money, he looks to be a pretty goddamn soft player. That game in Denver comes to mind, where he had a little bit of a rough start, put the ball on the ground, he fucking gave up. So if I'm a Cowboy fan, I'm really looking for Zeke Elliott to nut up here, punch it in a couple times maybe even, and do that stupid feed me celebration. But Cameron is looking pretty strong going online with Melvin Gordon here, and when you couple it with McCaffrey, I think he has the edge over the Gouch.
I I actually want to say that like McCaffrey has the edge over Elliott this week. Um, but I don't think Melvin Gordon is going to play as much as you think he is.
Well,
I mean,
I
even
think
like
if you
if you
combine them,
just
it's still better than Sony Michel, dude.
hot take, Sonny Michelle 25 points this week.
Okay,
I'm giving Seagouch the advantage at running back here,
fair
and I'm
enough.
giving it to him big,
Big and floppy. That's
big and
interesting.
floppy.
Well, what do you think about T.Y. Hilton versus DJ Moore, two top receivers on underwhelming offenses?
Well, T.Y. Hilton was out with a quadricep injury, so he should be fine. Uh,
Well, assume he
I
plays.
don't know. I don't even know who DJ Moore is.
He's a
DJ
young,
Moore is not
plucky
going to score that
receiver.
much.
He's the top option for the Panthers. I give it to Hilton. I think Hilton will have a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Greg Olsen is still like the number one receiver in Carolina.
Fair
DJ
enough.
Moore might be pretty good. He might be a good receiver, but I mean, just looking at his stats for this year, I haven't watched too many Panthers games. So you probably have a little bit more knowledge than me, but even against the terrible Arizona defense where they scored 38 points, he only got 12 points. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm
go
not
ahead
a
and
fan
edge
of his
T.Y.
work.
Hilton here.
Well, and their wide receivers too are despicable. Marquise Brown and Philip Dorsett. That's just awful.
Yep.
Shameful.
Oh, I did want to mention the a lot of these players, like I said, a lot of these players are in must-win games. Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Colts are all 2-2 in their division. That
So,
is a must-win game for all of them, basically.
so I have an interesting question for you now that you brought that up. Is there
Mhm.
any team that is playing a more important game than the Cowboys this week? When you consider what it would mean to lose to those two teams back to back, it's not just the Cowboys are 3-2. It's the Cowboys look like frauds, and you have to all of a sudden look at games down the road like the Vikings and say they're not going to win that. The Vikings are at advantage when after week 3 you were thinking the Cowboys, they're going to beat the Vikings, they're going to beat the Rams, they're going to sweep Philly. But now you sort of ask yourself like they might be fucking 9 losses by the end of the year if they lose to Green Bay. It's that important.
No, the Cowboys game is is the game of the week. It's the most important game of the week of the basically this entire season for the Cowboys right now. I honestly don't see like looking at their schedule. I don't think there's any game that's like so important for them to win. Other than of course playing the Eagles, but
Twice.
yeah, but I mean even those games like the Cowboys are like always, they always beat them at least once every year. It's like they go 1-1 or they go like the Cowboys beat them. Like the Eagles have a bad time against the Cowboys every year, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's absolutely just a must-win game for the Cowboys here. Um, it, if not a must-win game, they literally have to show up and play so well that Green Bay like better look like the best team on earth
Well, Dak has to
if they lose.
Dak has to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and Aaron Rodgers has to like luck out and beat him in the last second drive.
I
If they
mean, and
lose, that's
they
how they
literally
have to
might do that.
lose.
You know how Green Bay is. They do that shit.
Oh,
So
it's just sickening
it's
what Green
definitely
Bay has done to
possible.
Dallas. I feel like people look back like, oh, the Ice Bowl is like a famous game in that rivalry, but
Yeah.
whenever at this point that what was it like the 2014 NFC divisional round, the Zeke caught it
Such a
game.
big game.
That
Des not.
game,
Yeah.
Des caught it. Yeah, my bad. But you have to look at that game historically, and it like goes down in Cowboys history as like the biggest missed opportunity because that was like the peak of the core of Des Bryant and Tony Romo, and they never really got close again. And as a
Yep.
Cowboys fan, you have to look at that and say they were looking good in the title game, and they could have made the Super Bowl. So now that the Cowboys are sort of waiting around, hoping to get to like the divisional round, whenever you go and play Green Bay, it's just sort of sickening thinking back about that game, that occurrence.
Yeah, and was it last year or the year before too, where there was another game where Green Bay just Aaron Rodgers the Cowboys.
Well, anytime they seem to play, Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but to drive a dagger into their heart in the playoffs like he's done is just
Yeah.
fucking awful. It's really
It,
terrible.
this is a big game, and I mean, there's just no other way to put it. It's such a big game, and I
Cowboys
really
have to
hope
win.
Dallas just comes up and just slaughters Green Bay. I mean, I hope it's not even close.
It's a must-win game, not because of record or because math-wise if the Cowboys lose they're going to be out of it, or because of the division lead. Keep in mind Philly basically has a free win this week, so if the Cowboys lose, they're not going to have the division lead. But this is why it's so important, is if the Cowboys lose, you can sort of assume that they've been pretending up until this point.
Yep.
And that means that they're pretty much going to lose all those close games, the Bears, the Rams, the Pats. You have to write those off as losses, the Eagles, and that is just a really tough thing to do after starting off 3-0. So let's
Yep.
finish talking about Seagouch and Cameron.
For sure. I'm gonna give Golden Tate the advantage here. He's coming back from his suspension or whatever, and Kyle Allen's is it Kyle? No, it's not Kyle Allen. Chris Daniels, whatever his name is. He's gonna throw the ball to him. Gallman's not gonna get that much play time. With Barkley coming back, the Giants they either have to win this game or they just give up their season. Kind of. That's
It's just
kinda
a
how
Daniel Jones throwaway, frankly.
Yeah,
Oh, it's a
and
season for Daniel Jones. He likes to
Greg
crap
Zuerlein's
box.
gonna have more points than Elliott. The Bears' defense are better than the Eagles' defense.
Fair
So.
enough. So who's winning?
Seagouch.
I'm giving it to Cam the Man Watson.
105. Cameron about 98.
I'm giving it to Cam the Man Watson, who if he would just like be more active and pick up receivers, he would actually have a scary team. Did you know I offered Cam a blockbuster deal involving Julio Jones?
Yeah, I did actually. I heard about that. I heard you tell me about that one.
Yeah, Cameron.
Seagouch offered me 7 trades last night.
I bet they were all just brutally insulting.
He really wanted Dalvin Cook,
Oh.
and he tried to send me. He tried at the beginning to send me Gallman. Dalvin
Go.
Cook. And I was like, I just was so insulted that I couldn't do anything. So I sent him back. I sent him back a trade at the end. Zeke Elliott for Matt Gay. I picked up Matt Gay just for that moment, literally just to send him
Just
that
to
trade.
troll him. Trade talks with Seagouch often devolve into using the little chat box to message to go with the trade to flame him. You are so fucking stupid, Seagouch. You just typing away.
I mean, at one point he basically sent me his whole bench for Dalvin Cook, and I was like, no, like, why would I do this?
Remember that joke occurrence where Spencer sent Ben like basically a message in the form of a trade, but the trade was like Ben's the kicker for everyone on Ben's team, and Ben was like calling people and lobbying like you gotta veto it. We only have 7 vetoes. Who isn't vetoing? It was me who wasn't vetoing, by the way.
I love it. All right, let's move on. We got to finish this up.
No fried and one Johnny football. Russell My Jimmy's has already put up 30, which is beautiful to see. No Fried's looking at a heavy advantage here. I really love his team compared to Weston's, especially considering Woods has already failed to break 5. I'm not a fan of Calvin Ridley. He is pretty boom or bust, and the Falcons' offense has looked really bad. Usually,
But Matt Ryan's an MVP.
I feel like whenever Julio Jones does well, Calvin Ridley does well. Ridley's not the type to like steal looks. Like the Falcons have to do well for Ridley to do well. So whenever they look really inconsistent, I'm just not a huge fan of Ridley's. James White, what do you have to say about him? He's a PPR guy. Josh Jacobs, he's looked decent. But when you compare him to No Fried's team, Ingram has looked really explosive. And what do you say about Jordan Howard? He had a great week last week. I think you got to give the edge to No Fried.
I think so too. I don't really like Weston's team this year, which is something that I've never been able to say before. It's very interesting. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about Russell Wilson
Well,
as a player?
I like Wilson. He's great for fantasy because of his rushing yards. Frankly, I don't think a lot about No Fried's team. I think it's pretty weak and has a lot of holes in it, but to be frank, I give him the advantage this week.
I do too, for sure. And I want to point out that Weston was really high on trying to get rid of Russell My Jimmy's Wilson at the beginning of the season, and man, that really backfired on him. With Russell Wilson being so prolific now.
Well, if Weston wins and I lose, we'll be tied for the division, so Weston's really looking for that.
That would be big for him. So this is a pretty big week for him. No Fried is 1-3, so 1-4 is basically the kiss of death, especially in my division where like Cameron could bust out 7 wins.
Oh, that's like 500.
Maybe even more. Maybe even
more than 7. Is that the over/under at the moment for Cam is 7?
Yeah, I'll put it out there.
Okay, let's breeze through this last one.
I think this is the most important game of the week, though.
No, you don't.
I'm just kidding. I really don't.
Goff is a fraud. The Rams have been figured out. They will be battling for a wild card spot. That's your Jared Goff news. Baker Mayfield overrated, playing a pretty strong San Fran team. I think he'll actually do worse than Goff. David Johnson.
Baker Mayfield hasn't even made 17 points this year.
David Johnson, he'll probably do pretty well. Joe Mixon's been pretty disappointing, but he's playing terrible Atlanta. We're obviously playing each other. Yeah, Arizona, shut up.
David Johnson, edge.
They'll get a dozen each, but yeah, David Johnson's better. Both these running back two suck and aren't worth mentioning. Evans will have a good week. Beckham will probably fraud again and get less than 7. Landry, I think, will get 8. He'll beat out Cooks. Eric Ebron and Jordan Cook, both are fucking bad. At least Ebron catches a touchdown every now and then. Advantage Ebron. Frank Gore is getting looks. Sterling Shepard has been the favorite target of Daniel Jones, but Cook is coming back. Advantage Gore. These 2 kickers I don't give a motherfuck about. And the Rams have already gotten 2. I give the advantage to Sam.
This is going to be one of those like 77-79 games. Just terrible.
Real shit shows.
Sam wins it.
It makes me sick that I lost to Sam.
Who lost to Lily this year? Because that's the one who should be really sick. That's it.
Oh,
by the way, the Lions are good.
Lions are not good.
Lions are a good
how many
team.
games are they going to win?
10.
Yeah, okay.
10 games. They're gonna win the NFC North.
I think they'll win like 8 or 9.
I'm calling it right. I'm just gonna give you some hot takes this year. And this week.
And that's the episode. Sub for more.